Alex Eala was crushing it, up 6-2 in the first set, then leading 4-2 in the second, breaking her opponent 3 times, controlling every baseline rally, looking like the number 4 seed everyone expected. But in tennis, dominance can vanish in seconds. What followed was a collapse so sudden, so complete, that it left fans stunned and Eala heartbroken. World number 305. Claire Liu, a qualifier who hadn't won a tour-level match in 19 months, stormed back to win 2-6. 6-4, 6-4. For Eala, it became her 4th straight loss. And the question everyone's asking, was this just bad tennis, or is something deeper breaking inside the young Filipino star? Alex Eala walked onto the court in Guangzhou carrying more than just her racket bag. She carried the hopes of an entire nation. At just 20 years old, she's already the Philippines' brightest tennis star, the girl who won the U.S. Open junior title, who climbed to a career-high ranking of 53, who captured a WTA 125 title in Guadalajara and made the country proud. But glory has a dark side, and that darkness was following her into this first-round match. Coming into Guangzhou, Eala was the 4th seed. On paper, she belonged here. She'd proven herself capable of competing at this level. But the recent results told a different story. One of struggle, of doubt, of matches slipping away when they should have been won. 3 straight losses before this tournament. 3 first-round exits in Suzhou, Ningbo, and Japan. Each one chipping away at her confidence, each one adding weight to shoulders that were already carrying so much. The pressure of being a national hero at 20 is something most people can't imagine. Every match isn't just about her. It's about representing millions of Filipinos who see her as their champion, their proof that they belong on the world stage. Social media celebrates her wins and dissects her losses. The expectations are relentless. And when you're in a losing streak, that pressure doesn't ease, it multiplies. Every day without a win makes the next match feel more desperate, more crucial, more impossible. Across the net stood Claire Liu, world number 305. A qualifier who had to fight through multiple rounds just to make the main draw. On paper, this should have been a routine win for Eala. Liu hadn't won a tour-level match since Miami in March 2024, 19 months ago. She'd taken a 7-month mental health break. She'd dealt with a 2-month injury layoff. She was coming back from rock bottom, playing with no expectations, no pressure, nothing to lose. And that's the thing about players who have nothing to lose. They're the most dangerous opponents you can face. When you're the favorite, seeded 4th, with a nation watching, every point feels heavy. When you're the underdog qualifier ranked 305, every point is freedom. Liu had already been to the darkest places an athlete can go. She knew what it felt like to walk away from the sport, to question everything, to rebuild from nothing. This match, this was just another step in her comeback. Win or lose, she'd already won by making it this far. But for Eala, this match was everything. This was supposed to be where the losing streak ended, where she proved to herself, to her country, to her doubters, that she still had it, where she remembered what it felt like to win again. The stage was set. The contrast couldn't have been starker. A champion under pressure facing an underdog with nothing to lose. And in tennis, that's often when the impossible becomes possible. The first serve was struck. The battle began. And nobody watching could have predicted what would unfold over the next 2 hours and 28 minutes. What happened in that first set looked like the Alex Eala everyone believed in. But champions aren't defined by how they start. They're defined by how they finish. And this finish would break hearts. For 40 minutes, Alex Eala was everything she needed to be: sharp, aggressive, confident, dominant. The first set was a masterclass in controlled power, the kind of tennis that made people believe she belonged in the top 50, that her career-high ranking wasn't a fluke, that the losing streak was just a temporary blip. She broke Claire Liu's serve in the very first game. Not a close game, a statement. Liu looked exactly like a player ranked 305 who hadn't won a tour-level match in over a year. Her timing was off. Her serve lacked bite. Eala was dictating every rally from the baseline, moving Liu around the court like she was playing against a practice partner. When you're in rhythm like that, tennis feels effortless. The ball comes off your strings perfectly. Your feet are in the right position without thinking. Everything flows. Eala broke again to go up 4-1, then again to close out the set 6-2, 3 breaks of serve. She won 57% of points on her own serve while Liu managed just 35%. The stats were lopsided. The scoreboard was lopsided. Everything about the first set screamed one-sided dominance. Fans watching back in the Philippines started celebrating early. Social media lit up with relief. Finally, the win they'd been waiting for. Finally, Eala was back. The second set started even better. Eala broke immediately to go up 1-0, then held serve, then broke again. 4-2. She was serving with a 1-set lead and a break advantage in the second. The match was essentially over. All she had to do was hold serve one more time, maybe break once more, and it would be finished. A straight sets victory. Confidence restored. Losing streak ended. The path back to winning form would begin here, in Guangzhou. Against a qualifier nobody expected her to lose to. But here's the thing about tennis that makes it so brutal, so psychologically demanding, so capable of destroying even the strongest competitors. The game isn't over until the final point is won. And the moment you start thinking about winning before you've actually won, that's when the demons creep in. That's when the pressure transforms from motivation into suffocation. That's when your mind becomes your worst enemy. Eala was serving at 4-2. One hold away from going up 5-2, from serving for the match, from putting this nightmare losing streak in the rearview mirror. But something shifted. Maybe she tensed up. Maybe she started thinking about the finish line instead of the next point. Maybe the weight of expectation, which had been manageable when she was dominating, suddenly became unbearable when she was this close to victory. Liu held serve to make it 4-3. Then something broke. Eala was broken back. The lead was gone. 4-4. The momentum that had been so clearly in her favor for over an hour suddenly felt fragile. Liu held again. 5-4. Now Eala was serving to stay in the set, to prevent the underdog from stealing what should have been an easy victory. She couldn't do it. Another break. The set was gone. 6-4 to Liu? 4 straight games lost. 4 consecutive failures when it mattered most. The crowd was silent. The celebration in the Philippines turned to anxiety. And Alex Eala, who had been in complete control just minutes ago, now faced a third set against an opponent who'd just discovered she could win. Losing a set you should have won doesn't just cost you 6 games, it costs you belief. And when you're already drowning in doubt, that loss can pull you under completely. The third set began with Eala trying to convince herself it wasn't over. She held serve. So did Liu. Then Eala broke to go up 2-1. When she held again to lead 3-1, it looked like maybe, just maybe, she'd rediscovered something. Maybe the collapse in the second set was just a momentary lapse. Maybe she could still pull this out, still end the losing streak, still avoid the devastation of another first-round exit. But that hope was fragile. It was built on sand. And the tide was coming in. Liu broke back immediately to make it 3-2, then held serve, 3-3. The score stayed tight, both players holding serve, the tension ratcheting up with every point. 4. Everything that had seemed so clear in the first set was now clouded with doubt, with pressure, with the crushing weight of knowing that this match should already be over. At 4-4, serving to stay competitive in the third set, Eala faced her defining moment. This was where champions separate themselves from everyone else. This was where mental toughness, where years of training, where belief in yourself matters more than any stroke you've ever practiced. Hold serve here, break Liu, and you still have a chance. Lose this game and the match, and everything it represents, slips away forever. She lost the game. Broken for the 5th time in the match, Liu now served at 5-4 for the match. The underdog who wasn't supposed to be here, who hadn't won a tour-level match in 19 months, who was ranked 305 in the world, was 1 game away from shocking the 4th seed. 1 game away from her first tour-level victory since Miami. 1 game away from proving that her comeback was real. And Eala? Eala was 1 game away from her 4th straight loss. 1 game away from extending a nightmare that had already lasted too long. one game away from facing questions she didn't want to answer, about her mental state, about her future, about whether she could still compete at this level. Liu served out the match without drama. Eala couldn't break back. She'd already been broken too many times. Her spirit, her belief, her ability to fight back, all of it had been shattered over the previous hour. Final score 2-6, 6-4, 6-4. 2 hours and 28 minutes of tennis that started with dominance and ended with devastation. When the final point was struck, Liu's celebration was joyful but measured, the reaction of someone who'd been through hell and back, who understood what it meant to win after losing everything. Eala's reaction was emptiness. Not anger, not tears, just the hollow expression of someone who'd just watched their worst fear become reality. Again. The handshake at the net was brief, professional. But there was something in that moment. Liu, the player who'd taken 7 months off for mental health, who'd rebuilt herself from nothing, embracing victory, and Eala, the player who was supposed to be on the rise, now sinking deeper into a hole she couldn't climb out of. It was a mirror neither of them asked for, but both of them saw clearly. The scoreboard said 2-6, 6-4, 6-4. But the real story wasn't in the numbers. It was in what those numbers revealed about pressure, about mental fragility, about what happens when your mind becomes the opponent you can't beat. Sometimes statistics lie. They tell you a player dominated when they actually scraped through. They make a close match look one-sided, or a blowout look competitive. But sometimes statistics tell a story more brutal than any scoreboard can capture. And the statistics from this match between Alex Eala and Claire Liu told a story of complete mental collapse. Here's the number that should haunt Eala. She won more total points than Liu. 93-87. Let that sink in. In a match she lost, Eala actually won 6 more points than her opponent. In most matches, winning 6 more points means you win in straight sets. But Eala lost. How is that possible? Because tennis isn't just about winning points. It's about winning the right points at the right time. And Eala failed when it mattered most. She converted 60% of her break points. That's actually a strong percentage. Most players would be happy with that conversion rate. She created opportunities and capitalized on them. But here's the killer. She lost 6 service games. 6 times Liu broke her serve. 6 times Eala failed to hold when holding meant controlling the match, maintaining momentum, staying alive. Look at the first set stats. Eala won 57% of points on her serve. Liu won just 35%. That's domination. That's exactly what a 4th seed should do to a qualifier ranked 305. But by the 3rd set, those numbers had flipped in the ways that mattered. Eala's serve, once solid, once reliable, became a liability. The same serve that had carried her through the first set was now being attacked, exploited, broken. The match lasted 2 hours and 28 minutes. That's not a quick collapse. That's not a player who was outmatched from the start. That's a long, slow unraveling. That's watching yourself lose in real time and being unable to stop it. Every game lasted just long enough for Eala to believe she might turn it around. Every set lasted just long enough for hope to creep back in before being crushed again. But here's the stat that matters more than any other. This was Claire Liu's first tour-level victory since March 2024, 19 months ago. Before this match, Liu's recent results at this level were nothing but losses. She'd spent the last year and a half fighting through qualifiers, playing lower-level tournaments, rebuilding her game and her mind. She came into this match ranked 305 with absolutely nothing to lose. No expectations, no pressure, just the freedom of being the underdog. Eala, meanwhile, came in ranked 53, seeded 4th, with a nation watching, with 3 straight losses already weighing on her, with every reason to believe she should win this match easily. And that difference, that gap between playing with freedom and playing under crushing pressure, showed up in every crucial moment. The numbers don't lie. Eala had the talent to win. She had the ranking to win. She had the opportunities to win. She won more total points than her opponent. But she didn't have the mental strength to close. And in tennis, that's the only stat that ultimately matters. You can dominate every statistical category. But if you can't hold serve when it counts, if you can't maintain your level under pressure, if you can't close out a match you're dominating, then none of those numbers mean anything. This match wasn't lost because Claire Liu played amazing tennis. It was lost because Alex Eala broke down when the pressure peaked. The stats prove it. The scoreboard confirms it. And somewhere deep down, Eala knows it too. Winning more points than your opponent but still losing the match isn't bad luck. It's a mental breakdown captured in numbers. And for Eala, these numbers revealed a truth she can't ignore anymore. Changed. She can talk about needing to work on her mental game, about focusing on the next tournament, about believing in the process. But words don't end losing streaks, wins do. And the wins aren't coming. The scariest part? This is how careers unravel. Not with one catastrophic loss, but with a series of defeats that chip away at belief until there's nothing left. You go from career-high rankings to wondering if you belong at this level. You go from feeling like a champion to feeling like an imposter. You go from playing freely to playing scared. And once fear takes over, every match becomes a battle not against your opponent, but against yourself. 4 losses, 4 first-round exits, 4 times the weight got heavier instead of lighter. And the question everyone's asking, including probably Eala herself, is simple but terrifying. When does it end? When does the next match become the one where things finally click, where the pressure lifts, where winning feels possible again? Because right now, standing on the other side of that 4th straight loss, the answer feels impossibly far away. Losing streaks don't end because you want them to. They end when you find something inside yourself you didn't know was there. And right now, Eala is searching for that something in all the wrong places. 4 losses, 4 first-round exits. 4 times Alex Eala walked onto a court believing this would be the day things turned around, only to walk off defeated, confused, and further from the player she knows she can be. Guangzhou was supposed to be different. It was the perfect setup, a lower-tier tournament, a qualifier opponent ranked 305, the 4th seed spot that said she belonged. This was supposed to be where the nightmare ended. Instead, it continued. And now the streak has reached a point where it's no longer just about tennis. It's about survival. It's about whether Eala can find a way back before the losses pile up so high that she can't see over them anymore. Before Guangzhou, there was Suzhou. First round exit. Then Ningbo. First round loss. Then Japan. Another opening round defeat. Each one slightly different in its details but identical in its outcome. Each one another crack in the foundation of confidence that every professional athlete needs to compete. Each one making the next match feel heavier, more desperate, more impossible. The pattern is what's so terrifying. Eala isn't losing in close 3-setters where a few points decided everything. She's not losing to top players in battles that could have gone either way. She's losing matches she dominates early. She's losing to lower-ranked players. She's losing after building leads that should be insurmountable. The Guangzhou collapse, up 6-2, 4-2, and losing, is just the most brutal example of a problem that's been growing for weeks. Social media, which once celebrated her every victory, has become a minefield of opinions. Some fans remain supportive, posting messages like, "Let's ground our pride in empathy." Alex doesn't owe us perfection, she owes herself peace. They understand that she's just 20 years old, that the pressure of being a national hero is immense, that athletes are human beings who struggle just like everyone else. But others have grown frustrated. They see a player ranked 53 losing to qualifiers ranked 305, and they don't see a mental health struggle. They see underperformance. They see wasted talent. They see someone who should be doing better but isn't. The comments aren't always cruel, but they're constant. Every loss generates a new wave of analysis, criticism, and unsolicited advice. And when you're already drowning in doubt, that noise becomes deafening. The Philippines has invested so much emotion into Eala's career. She's not just a tennis player, she's a symbol of what's possible, proof that Filipino athletes can compete on the world stage in sports traditionally dominated by other nations. When she wins, it feels like a national victory. But when she loses, especially when she loses 4 times in a row, it feels personal to millions of people who've never met her. That's the burden of being the face of a sport in your country. That's the weight of carrying not just your own dreams, but the dreams of everyone who sees themselves in you. And at 20 years old, with a losing streak that won't end, that burden becomes almost unbearable. After the Guangzhou loss, Eala faced the media with the same questions she'd answered 3 times before. Why did you lose? What went wrong? What happens next? How do you fix this? The answers must feel hollow by now, because she's given them before and nothing has. There's something haunting about the fact that Alex Eala lost to Claire Liu on that court in Guangzhou. Not because Liu isn't a good player, she is. Not because the ranking difference made it impossible. Upsets happen. But because of what Liu represents. Because Liu is living proof of what happens when you face your demons, acknowledge them, and rebuild yourself piece by piece. And in losing to her, Eala was shown a mirror she might not have been ready to see. Claire Liu was once exactly where Eala is now. Young, talented, ranked in the top 100, with expectations and pressure and a future that seemed bright. Then everything fell apart. Not because she forgot how to play tennis, but because the mental weight became too much. She took 7 months off. 7 months away from competition, from rankings, from the sport that defined her. A mental health break that was brave and necessary, and, at the time, felt like career suicide. When Liu came back, she wasn't ranked in the top 100 anymore. She was ranked 305. She had to play qualifiers. She had to rebuild every ounce of confidence from scratch. And in her first tournament back at tour level, she hadn't won a single match in 19 months. She was, by every measure, supposed to be the player who lost in Guangzhou. The underdog with nothing left to prove. But here's what Liu discovered during those 7 months away. When you remove the pressure, when you stop fighting yourself, when you accept where you are and stop demanding where you should be, that's when you become dangerous. Liu stepped onto the court with nothing to lose because she'd already lost everything and survived. That freedom, that liberation from expectation, made her fearless. And fearless players beat favorites all the time. Alex Eala, on the other hand, is playing with the weight of the world on her shoulders. She's playing with the hope of an entire nation. She's playing with 3 losses, now 4, clouding every decision. She's playing with the pressure of knowing she's ranked 53 and seeded 4th and supposed to win easily. Every point feels like life or death. Every game feels like proof of her worth. And that pressure, that crushing need to win to justify herself, is exactly what's making it impossible to win. The mirror Liu held up in that match showed Eala something uncomfortable. Talent isn't enough. Ranking isn't enough. Hard work isn't enough. If your mind is your biggest opponent, none of those things matter. You can win 93 total points and still lose the match. You can dominate the first set 6-2 and still collapse. You can be the better player on paper and still walk off court defeated. Liu took 7 months to fix her mind before trying to fix her tennis. Eala is trying to fix her tennis while her mind is breaking. And that's the trap. Every loss makes the next match feel more crucial. Every crucial match brings more pressure. More pressure makes winning harder. And when winning gets harder, the losses pile up faster. It's a cycle that feeds itself until something breaks. Either the player finds a way out, or the career spirals beyond repair. The truth is, Eala might need to do what Liu did. Not necessarily take 7 months off, but acknowledge that this isn't just about tennis anymore. This is about mental health. About pressure. About learning to play with freedom instead of fear. About understanding that losing doesn't make you worthless. And winning doesn't make you valuable. You already are. Liu proved something in Guangzhou that goes beyond one match. You can come back from rock bottom. You can rebuild yourself from 305 in the world back to relevance. You can lose 19 straight tour-level matches and still win the 20th. But you can't do any of that while running from the truth. You have to face it. You have to acknowledge that you're struggling. You have to give yourself permission to be human instead of demanding perfection. Alex Eala is 20 years old. She has time. She has talent. She has support from millions of people who want to see her succeed. But what she needs most right now isn't another tournament or another match or another chance to prove herself. What she needs is the courage to look in the mirror Claire Liu held up and acknowledge what she sees there. A young woman who's been carrying too much for too long, who's been fighting battles she can't win alone, who needs help before things get worse. This match in Guangzhou wasn't just a loss. It was a message. The question is, will Eala hear it before the next loss, and the one after that, and the one after that? Because the mirror doesn't lie. And right now, it's showing her a truth that's painful but necessary. You can't outrun your mind. You have to face it. Alex Eala's collapse in Guangzhou from 6-2, 4-2 up wasn't just about one bad match. It was about the weight of pressure, the burden of expectation, and the mental fragility that comes from carrying a nation's hopes at just 20 years old. Claire Liu, ranked 305 and coming back from her own mental health journey, didn't just win a tennis match. She showed the world that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is acknowledge when you're breaking and take time to heal. 4 straight losses. A losing streak that's destroying confidence with every passing tournament. And the hardest question of all, how does Eala find her way back? Maybe the answer isn't in the next match. Maybe it's in the mirror Claire Liu showed her, acknowledging the struggle, asking for help, and understanding that being human isn't a weakness. So here's the real question. Is Alex Eala's career at a breaking point? Or is this the moment that will define her? The moment she learns that true strength isn't pretending everything's fine, it's admitting when it's not. If you want to see more deep dives into the mental battles behind the biggest moments in women's tennis, hit that subscribe button. Because these stories, the ones about pressure, resilience, and what happens when champions face their darkest moments, these are the stories that matter. Drop a comment. Do you think Eala can come back from this? Or does she need to step away like Liu did? Let's talk about it.